Hello, friends, and welcome back to r/Entitled People. Sit comfortably because today we have another set of crazy stories for you. If you're new here, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss a new video every single day. Here we go. Don't let my neighbor build another story on his house, lose $600,000 when you sell yours. I know this story because I'm good friends with my neighbor. My neighbor, let's call him John, 8 years ago, decided he wanted to build a second story onto his house, but his property had a legal binding on it, preventing it from being renovated unless all surrounding neighbors agreed. This is called a covenant, I think, and it can't be contested in the local council. This one was over 100 years old. All of his neighbors except one, let's call him Alex, agreed to let him renovate. Now, John is a big guy, ex-military and muscly. He has a wife and 2 children, but he's not quick to anger. About twice every year, John would write Alex polite letters asking him to lift the ban from renovating his house, and every year Alex declined, complaining that it would be an eyesore. Literally every other house on the road has a second story but his, or that it would ruin the aesthetic of the street. Seriously? Alex was also a complete jerk and a hypocrite, playing loud music past midnight. Anyway, for 8 years, John would get turned down by Alex. Then suddenly, Alex decided he was going to sell his house. The revenge was on. After he heard the news, John bought one of those professional metal signs that people put in front of their houses when selling and put one in front of his own house. It read something like this: 5 new apartments being built. Get in quick. 2 sold already. 3 entire stories. Loud noise expected for a year. The number given on the sign was disconnected. This was repeated in Mandarin and Arabic as well. The sign was put right next to Alex's house on the edge of his property. The auction for the house was going in a month, and Alex was quick to get a lawyer against John to make him put the sign down. I think it was because the sign was encroaching on his land. John wrote about 60 letters to the lawyer, and it cost about $50 for the lawyer to read each one and give his legal advice to Alex. The lawyer contacted John and told him if he did not take down the sign a week before the auction, they would take him to court. A week before the auction, John took the sign down, but he wasn't done. The day of the auction arrived, and John parked his 4 cars along the front of Alex's house so no one could see the auction here sign, and so the auction goers couldn't park there. John has an inbuilt speaker system in his house and was blasting building sound effects and music throughout his house. He put back up the sign he put down and put another one up which read, "House Demolition Furniture Sale." John brought most of the furniture from his garage and the house outside on his lawn. If people came to buy something, he would overprice it outrageously because he didn't really want to sell his stuff. It was just to make the apartment construction more believable and give the auction goers a taste of how loud it'll be. When the auction took place, we could barely hear the auctioneer, and when Alex complained to John about the noise, John said that he had the builders on contract and didn't want to reschedule. The house was estimated to go for $3 million, but ended up going for $2.4 instead. Alex had to halt his construction of his new house because he didn't have the funds. Alex, who according to John sounded like he was seething with anger, phoned John to tell him he owes him $600,000. The new owners of the property lifted the covenant when John told them about his plan. You guys should be thanking me. I saved you $600,000. And our next story. The day I was hired and fired by a law firm. So this is about 5 years ago. I worked as a chef at a bakery. It was my job to make everything but the baked goods. Every morning, the baker and I would walk in at around 4 a.m. and knock out all the food needed for the day. This would leave me ready to go home around 10 a.m. or so. This put us at the perfect time to deliver online orders. It was common for companies or other entities to place large catering orders with us. The baker and I would split them down the middle and deliver them on our way home. The delivery in question was for Bob, Dick, and Harry, attorneys at law. I've never delivered to BD&H before, but they were a regular of sorts. Every financial quarter, they would hold a huge meeting. This meeting would require roughly $700 of bagels and bagel accessories. This spread included 8 dozen bagels, all 10 of our flavors of cream cheese, pastries, brownies, and enough coffee to power a college dorm through finals week. My passenger seat, entire back seat, and entire trunk are filled with food. Now, BD&H is located on the 9th floor of a commercial skyscraper deep in an industrial complex downtown. Parking was non-existent. There were meters outside the building, but I knew I'd need close to 10 trips to deliver all this food and didn't have a lot of change on me. Company policy was to just pay whatever fines I needed to park and then turn in my receipts. The money would end up on my next paycheck. So the building has its own parking garage. So I pull on in. The security guard, let's call him Sam, stops me and says that the parking garage is for employees only. I happily show him my delivery invoice and offer him a bribery bagel. Never leave the store without at least 2. Sam refuses the bagel, says I can park in one of the guest spots on the bottom floor. The fee's $5 for every 30 minutes, minimum 10. I thank him and head for the bottom floor of the garage. So there are a total of 6 guest parking spaces. Just 6. All of them are taken. I head back up to talk to Sam when I see an open parking spot reserved for Bob, Dick, and Harry, attorneys at law. There are cars in every spot, with many spots being reserved for employees by name. The last spot is empty and is reserved for guest of BD&H. Perfect. I pull on in, grab the most important part of the delivery, the coffee, and head to the stairwell. I get into the elevator and hit the button for floor 9. The elevator asks for my employee ID card. Well, crud. So I try the lobby. That works. From there, it's 9 flights of stairs until I'm outside the law firm of Bob, Dick, and Harry. After introducing myself, I'm shown to the room where the meeting will take place. The table's set aside for me. I set down the coffee and head down for trip number 2. That's when I see Sam talking to the receptionist. He runs over and starts shouting at me. "I'm putting a boot on your effing car! I told you to park in guest parking on the bottom floor!" I don't get a word in before he launches into a speech about security and how I could be hurting his building or people. That's when a very well-dressed man walks over. It happens to be Bob, of the Bob, Dick, and Harry's. Bob asks what the problem is, and soon the two are arguing. Bob: "OP's delivering food for my meeting. He's allowed to use my parking spots." Sam: "Those parking spots belong to the building. You're leasing them like you leased this floor. I'm the one who says who can park there. He isn't an employee, so he isn't parking." Bob: "Then I'm making him an employee." Sam: "You can't do that." Bob: "You know what? You're right. Harry, get over here." Harry walks over with an amused look on his face. Bob: "Harry here's the head of our HR department. Harry, hire this boy." Harry pulls out a piece of paper and scribbles, "OP is now a member of Bob, Dick, and Harry's," and signs it, then asks me to sign as well. I do so. Bob reaches over the receptionist, who's already grabbing some things. "Here's your employee badge, your parking permit, and your elevator key card. Now, please do the job I have hired you to do and deliver my bagels." Sam looks on in utter fury as I ride the elevator down to my car. 7 sweet, sweet elevator rides later, all the food is delivered. Bob and Harry meet me at the table. Bob: "OP, you've made great strides in this company, and I'm proud of your work. But I feel it's time for us to part ways. Here's your final check." Bob then hands me a crisp $50 bill. Harry: "And your severance package. Now, please be sure to return your badge and card on the way out." Harry hands me a 20 and sends me on my way. The receptionist is sure to validate the parking ticket that Sam gave me, and I head on out. On the way out, Sam grins at me and asks for my ticket. I place it in the machine in his station. It sees the validation I got and lets me out for free. Sam glares at me as I drive off into the late morning sun. I hate it when people get a small amount of power and let it go to their heads. Great story. And our last story. You will be hearing from my lawyer. Okay, we'll be here. My wife worked at the central switchboard for a group of resort hotels in a tourist area. She had to deal with guests from all of the resorts for all sorts of requests. A lot of them were fine, but there were always a certain percentage of entitled vacationers who seemed to think that a good reputation for guest service meant that they could get anything they want. Sometimes it didn't matter what you did to help the guest, they weren't going to get what they wanted. This usually involves long, angry rants about how horrible of a person you are and how the company is clearly going downhill if they can't provide whatever they want, whenever, and at little to no cost. It was pretty par for the course when dealing with angry guests. What guests didn't know was that there was one line they should never cross: threats of legal action. Here's where the malicious compliance comes in. Anytime someone threatens to sue or call their lawyer, there's only one move the operator can do: direct all conversations to the legal department. The operators literally have a script that says, since you've threatened legal action, all further inquiries must be sent by your lawyer through our legal department. At that point, the caller's account is flagged in the computer system, and anyone else they talk to will give them the same response. Most of them realize, after hearing this, how screwed they are. Want to make a dinner reservation? Lawyer. Room service? Lawyer. Bell service? Lawyer. Valet parking? Lawyer. Spa appointment? Lawyer. Any other hotel-related service across all the resorts this company owns? Have your lawyer call our legal department. I think it isn't just phone calls. I'm sorry, you don't actually have a lawyer and it's Friday night? Have the one you hire call us when the legal department opens on Monday morning. These hotels are part of a much larger corporate entity, with a massive potential for liability in terms of money extracted under legal threat, to the point that there are scams on a semi-regular basis by people faking or intentionally injuring themselves for personal enrichment. The company is very profitable and has a sizable, well-experienced in-house legal department. No one will serve them beyond what is the minimum level of service out of caution that it may expose them and the company to further liability. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video, and I'll see you in the next one.